A law to stop big tech will actually entrench big tech. But what else is new? The AIs that are going to power your apps safely, privately, and securely won't come from Google or OpenAI or Anthropic. It'll come from a small team you've never heard of working on open source models. But a new California bill could make that all impossible and entrench big tech instead. Stay tuned, and I'll tell you all about it. So what we're talking about is California's AB 412. That's a law that says every AI developer has to tell copyright holders exactly which copyrighted works were used to train their models. And that sounds reasonable as long as you don't understand anything about how copyright in this country works. What they are asking for is literally impossible. Do you really think it's the case that the Copyright Office is like this big database you can search whatever you want and find out definitively what's under copyright and what isn't and who owns the copyright? No. We've been covering how much of a problem that is in Bartz v. Anthropic, where a copyright notice says this book is owned by an author when it's really owned by a holding company. And then movies can be owned by studios, but they're sold to distributors. It sells it to another one and goes all over the place. So what that's going to mean is the companies that can afford the big armies of lawyers are the only ones who are going to be able to operate in this space. That means the small and open source developers are going to disappear. So we'll look at that, and we'll also look at, oddly, why is the Screen Actors Guild supporting this, given that actors don't own anything? So AB 412, the current status of it is engrossed. That's a weird California thing. What that means is it's passed the Assembly, then it went over to the Senate, and then the Senate made a bunch of amendments, and now they've passed it into committee for final checks. Now, assuming the Senate finally does pass it, which they haven't yet, they just approved it going to the final committee, but they'll probably pass it. Then it will go back to the Assembly for a concurrence vote, and then go to Gavin Newsom's desk. So it's slowly crawling its way to the governor's office as it has been for the past 2 years. The idea is if a copyright holder sends a written request to the makers of an AI model, they have 7 days to hand over a full list of all of their materials used, or 30 days to say, we didn't use your stuff. And if you miss that deadline, it's $1,000 per violation, plus injunctive relief and attorney's fees. And so AB 412 is supposed to say that AI companies have to retain all of the copyright information on the training data, which may not be there, may not exist, or may exist and be wrong, or may have changed since all that happened. And then rights holders can ask them, hey, did you use our work? Developers have the obligation of documenting all of that. And the stated goal is transparency. That's going to be impossible. And we'll cover why. And we'll also cover why SAG is supporting it, saying that AI shouldn't be secretly trained on copyrighted works, the creators deserve transparency, actors have rights of publicity, and so copyright owners should know whether or not their work was used, and they view this as basic accountability. But as Joe Mullen of the EFF points out, there are a lot of problems with this, to the point where complying with this law is going to be impossible. And he writes, California lawmakers are again considering AB 412, a bill that would require AI developers to identify and disclose copyrighted works used to train generative AI systems. The problem is that it's practically impossible to comply with this law. The bill demands information that often does not exist and cannot realistically be obtained. And to the extent developers do follow this law, it will have the effect of locking in the power of the largest companies in AI. AB 412 sounds simple. Just have developers create and keep a list of all the registered copyrighted works they use. That may seem straightforward. In practice, it's anything but. There is no machine-readable list of copyrighted works at the U.S. Copyright Office, and many copyright holders can get a copyright without even depositing a publicly viewable sample of their work. And on the open internet, copyright information is often incomplete, unavailable, or impossible to verify. Like if you're grabbing an image from a website, Where did that image come from? Did the website author make it, or did they pull it from a library? They generally don't have attribution there. And how do you go and check? One image may be registered with the Copyright Office, while the next is licensed under Creative Commons, and the next is public domain. A message forum user might post an original story, photograph, or poem without any indication of ownership or registration status. The bill effectively asks developers to continuously cross-reference massive batches of online data against a copyright system that simply wasn't designed to do so. They define developer as anyone who makes a Gen AI model available to Californians, which just means you put it on the internet, I guess. That includes indie developers tinkering with an existing model, all those little users over on Hugging Face or Civet AI. Open source initiatives, nonprofits, and other non-commercial efforts. They did add exemptions for universities and government entities, but that leaves out almost all of the small indie developers. Large companies are just going to be able to hire compliance teams and lawyers to navigate these requirements. Smaller organizations and independent developers usually can't. The result will be fewer opportunities for startups and new entrants. Faced with this massive compliance burden, some won't even try. The bill is premised on the idea that copyright owners currently don't have good remedies if they're mistreated by AI companies. That simply isn't true, and the growing wave, the tsunami of federal court filings in this space proves that there's another dozen coming up every week. Oh my God, it's unbelievable! It's impossible to keep track of. Believe me, I've tried. And it doesn't help that the only two courts to actually decide the issue have found that AI training is fair use, which means none of this should be necessary at all. California lawmakers should not rush to impose new state regulation while those questions remain unresolved. This is why copyright is governed at the federal level. Both creators and fair users benefit from a single set of nationwide rules. At this point, the bill remains a solution in search of a problem. Rights holders already have powerful tools to protect their interests under existing federal law. What this bill adds isn't clarity or transparency, but a costly and essentially impossible compliance burden. But this is what regulation always does. We've covered this in so many different ways, on so many different issues, in so many different industries. It just makes it harder for the little guy to compete and entrenches the big corporations. AI regulation will be no different. And it's really weird because, as Brandon Butler points out over here on X, SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, is supporting this even though they're not rights holders. And that's what he says. Honest question for them and other actor supporters of California's AB 412. Since actors don't hold copyrights, why support a bill that only gives registered copyright holders a cause of action? AB 412 creates a new right for holders of registered copyrights. Actors are performers who don't typically own copyrights. Their performances are a part of fixed works, films, audiobooks, etc., that belong to studios, publishers, and other corporate copyright holders. So are you just doing this at the behest of your corporate masters? If AB 412 were to pass, neither actors nor SAG will have new rights against AI companies. Only their bosses will have those rights. So are actors supporting giving studios new rights to harass AI developers because they believe that studios will exercise that right to protect actors out of the goodness of their hearts or pursuant to a contract? Does that contract term exist yet, or is it to be determined? Do you really think you're going to get anything out of this? Or are you, just like the authors over in Bartz, going to get stepped on by the big publishers? Are you going to get stepped on by the big studios? And it's relevant to questions in their Senate Judiciary Committee hearing about a private right of action in the bill. Senator Nielo expressed concern that this would lead to frivolous vexation claims from the general public. And that's when you can just say, oh, I'm a concerned citizen, I don't like this, so I'll just sue. But the sponsor of AB 412 explained that only someone who holds a registered copyright could bring a claim. But if that's true, why are actors so vigorously in favor of the bill? Actors individually and SAG on their behalf have no power to seek redress under the bill. Is SAG just using them? Is there some kind of underhanded deal they have going on with the studios? Isn't that the opposite of what a union's supposed to be? Actors as such would not be able to probe AI devs about their training data, nor would they be able to sue an AI dev who ignored their requests. Creators are not the same as copyright holders. That's something everyone needs to understand. Burn that into your mind. Creators are not the same as copyright holders. Whenever they defend copyright because they're defending creators and artists and authors, no! Bullshit! They're two different things. And actors and the dozens of other workers who contribute to films are the prime example of that distinction. Creative workers thinking that 1, AI is generally bad for them, it isn't, and 2, anything that hurts AI is generally good for them, it isn't. So 3, more aggressive copyright enforcement will protect them from AI. None of these things is true. And 3 is the most unlikely proposition of them all. Copyright holders don't want to kill AI. They want to catch a windfall from AI. They want that big moolah. They want to get all that money that they can spread all over their beds and roll around naked in. They don't care about you. They don't care about stopping AI. They don't care about fair use or the rights of creators or any of it. They just want the money. None of these things is the same as protecting creative workers. It's a bill that gives actors literally nothing, and yet actors are its chief supporters. They are clamoring for more enforcement rights, seemingly because they believe it will allow studios to better protect them. But why would studios do that? It seems like a risky bank shot to me, a kind of AI trickle-down economics where you give more power to the bosses and hope they drop some crumbs your way. What am I missing? Well, probably what you're missing is that they're actors and their job is getting paid to say things, and so they were probably paid to say this. Or they're just dumb. That's also possible. It's all bad, and we'll have to see how it goes, and we'll have to see how long it is before this gets preempted, because remember, copyright is supposed to be a federal thing. Copyright cases are all supposed to be in federal court. So we'll see what happens the first time one of them gets sued, and they bump up into federal court going, hey, this is a copyright thing, we should be up here. Assuming the courts just don't throw the whole thing out as unconstitutional in the first place. We'll have to see. I'll be here to let you know. Please stay tuned. Comments for the Comic God, shares for the Share Throne. Please hit like, subscribe, and the bell. Also, if you're on mobile, see if you can go down to that line below the video, swipe left a couple of times, and hit hype. That's a weird new thing they're doing. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's supposed to give another boost in the algorithm, so check that out. And of course, donate.bogosity.tv to keep me doing what I do, one-time donations, or regular support with Patreon, Subscribestar, or Discord. Thank you so very much for watching. Until next time, stay strong and be free.